Hey there, party people. Today we are fusing Fate Grand Order with DC Comics. This is something that I've actually touched on before with my Gotham City Holy Grail War idea. And for those of you who are waiting, that is actually getting a continuation soon. For realsies. But today I wanted to explore the topic of lanterns. Now, I am far from the first person to assign characters from outside media into the lantern cores. But it's 2025. What even is originality anyway? For those outside of the loop of comics, you may have heard of the Green Lantern. But there is actually a lantern for each color of the rainbow, plus black, white, and ultraviolet. The latter of which we are not touching upon, because that's a can of worms. Each color corresponds with an emotion or a concept. Rage, avarice, fear, will, hope, passion, love, death, life, and hidden emotions. See what I mean by can of worms? So this is a whole little thought experiment of giving servants in Fate Grand Order power rings. And we're going to be starting with the Red Lantern's Rage. Now, off top, plenty of berserkers can fit into this, as when first given the ring, the wearer becomes a creature of mindless violence before they are dipped into the blood pits that allow them to better control their anger. Personally, I think the best Red Lantern would be Jeanne d'Arc Alter. I'm not going to be going over every single qualifying servant to a Lantern Corps, so you can just think of my choices throughout this video as who the leader of the various corps would be from Fate Grand Order. Jalter definitely has the rage and anger down pat, and has already shown herself to be a capable leader, commanding her berserkers in Orleans. Also, I very much restricted myself to only getting lantern art of one servant for this video, and that's for the thumbnail. So, if you want to see Jeanne as a Red Lantern, that calls for fan art. And if you do fan art, be sure to tag me in it, I would love to see it. And if you want to see videos in the future with more custom art, you can consider becoming a channel member to help fund that. And that little bit of shilling also leads neatly into the Orange of Avarice. Which, yeah, full stop, is pretty obvious that it has to be one of the pirates. Is what someone who is incorrect would think because it's Columbus. Yes, Blackbeard, and hell, even Queen of Sheba and Caesar could work, but they have some level of scruples, even if small. Columbus is irredeemable and deserves to be floating in the depths of space, desperately hugging his power battery. Which is a scary thought that leads into the Yellow Lantern's fear. Picking out someone that uses fear as a weapon is an interesting one, and I'm actually going to be using FGO's game mechanics for this, and it leads to only one choice: Abigail Williams. Not only is she one of the few servants that inflicts the terror status condition, but she is the only servant that deals special damage to enemies with the condition. It's weirdly perfect, and I will hear no naysayers. Well, maybe some naysayers from the Green Lanterns, since they are the direct enemies of the Yellow Lanterns. And honestly, it has to be Bedivere. I think a majority of servants fit having powerful wills. It kind of comes with the territory of being a hero, but the pure willpower Betty Boy displays in order to correct his mistakes, endlessly walking the earth, carrying his burden long past the limits of his actually living body to the bitter end. I deem him worthy. But then, what is the use of willpower without hope, which is the Blue Lantern's deal? Now, despite the fact that green is the center of the light spectrum, I'd say that blue is the most important on a conceptual level, because hope is the most important. It tempers anger, is untouched by greed, assuages fear, manifests will, breeds compassion, and is the foundation of love. Hope is not a prayer, but a promise. The ever-present star, glimmering through a maelstrom that helps you get through it all. So of course, there is no better wearer of this ring than Octoria caster, whose entire thesis is hope. But that said, she desperately needed compassion, and I can't think of a better person to give it than someone who has the same face. ZhineArt, the normal one. Being a saint is already pretty good for having Indigo's compassion, but her nearly supernatural temperance and lack of any malice really sells it for me. Granted, to be in line with the lore of the Indigo tribe, I could have chosen someone more evil to be rehabilitated, but that would cause a much more lengthy discussion that I think only the most hardcore comic nerds would care about. And with that, it leaves us with the last of the chromatic colors, Love's Violet Rays. Now, it is important to remember that as one of the ends of the spectrum, like red, violet is quite volatile and extreme. So we can't just look at a romantic and be done with it. We gotta look at one of the berserkers. So of course it's Kiyohime. Others immediately pop to mind, of course, but let's be real. Kiyohime is the one that reigns supreme in this regard as our resident yandere dragon girl. And so we have our 7 standard ring bearers, but we still have the special ones to deal with. As you can tell by the thumbnail, Melusine is my choice to have the Black Ring of Death. As literal ghosts, any servant would be a good fit. Hell, Gramps is a great fit, but canonically, Melusine is a corpse. It's her whole origin story. Plus, she's my favorite character, so of course I'm choosing her over everyone else if I can and putting her in the thumbnail. But that was the easy choice. Life's White Light would be the harder decision, which is what I thought until I realized that it had to be Mosh. Her entire story is discovering what it means to be human, doing the impossible and all that good stuff. I made an entire video about this. So her harnessing the whole of the light spectrum and banishing the darkest night fully makes sense for her character. She is the ultimate Kohai, so she gets the ultimate ring. And there you have it, all of the power rings distributed to servants in Fate Grand Order. If you really care about it, give Ultraviolet to Oberon for all I care. I'm still not getting into that mess. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and who you'd like to see as a Lantern. And again, if you do make fan art, be sure to tag me on socials. Those links are in the description below. Or you can send it to me directly using the email in my About section. But with everything said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you next time in the Void. Later.